Hello. Welcome back. Thanks for joining me. Hit like, hit subscribe. In this video, I'm going to go through and show you how I'm using Ableton's Corpus to get some really decent sounds that I like, but create some real tension and push and pulling that for some intensity, some character, and some mood as well. So I'll play a loop that I've got going here, and I'll show you how I sort of got around to that point. Okay, so we can hear I've used all audio samples, they're mainly mine. So they've already got some good starting points there, but the main sound is this here. And what I want to do is I want to automate it so I could show you what I'm going to do. And basically that sound on its own, we'll turn all the processing off, is basically a distorted drum loop that I made. Which is cool, that's something I like, obviously I made it. But using Corpus, I know you can't see because my camera's here, Ableton audio effects in Corpus, click on the down arrow and it'll expand all the presets. You'll see here down the bottom, I'm using the loop random, which is probably my favorite out of these. Metallic Rezo is good. The looping ones are not bad. And also I've got here the drum to bass synth, depending what sound you're going to muck around with. Now, I've already done some automation, and I'll show you what I've done. I'll delete all this, and then I'll redraw it for you guys, so you can see what I was doing. Now, within Corpus itself, there's a lot of parameters. The presets are great. You can really get some interesting effects on audio in general, but I like to loop random, and I'm on the pipe setting. This is the resonance type. Now, it's on. We'll press play. And I've got the amp on. I'll turn the amp off. So that's the sample dry. But what I'm doing is I'm using this motion button I can use is a combination of the decay and the radius. And when I was playing around with it, and I suggest you do the same, obviously move it around, very similar to the grain delayed display, right? So as I was playing with it, obviously in certain parts you can hear that resonator really coming to life. Now, I don't really like the sound of the resonator itself. Like if I had it like... Go put on Ableton's resonator, but then you can change the types as well, so you're going to get different variations. You can even use that one. For this case, I'll use pipe. So you can see as I was playing with it, I liked that way it was going. Two ways you can do it. You can hit record and resample and do it live, so it's a bit more human and not so much quantized. Or you can automate it and draw it in the automation lane like I did to show this example. Because there's a combination of both, you do need to do 2 lines, unfortunately. But if we go to loop random, you'll see decay. If we go like that, and then if we go to radius as well, I prefer to probably resample it so I can make it a bit more unique across the board, so it's not so static and quantized. And then obviously you can duplicate the radius and the decay automation. On top of that, you can play with further parameters. You can even tune it. That's a bit closer to the original sound. But... See, even me, like, depending on what pocket you get that in, I would sort of, see what's possible with this as well. It's pretty cool. Nah, it's too fast. I don't like that. Going low, and that's not bad. So you can really hear that resonator coming in at the top, which is what I like. You also have LFO parameters, so you can really, like if you get the rate really fast, you get a bit more glitchy if that's your cup of tea. I'll leave that off. Standard filter, frequency and bandwidth. So from here, what I did do is I just threw an amp on just to sort of intensify it a bit more. And that took out the low end. I've got the mid and the treble a bit higher. The presence is halfway, just to get that high end crunchy out of it. It's obviously going to depend what you're layering it with, your own personal taste, but with the drum loop. You can hear, obviously, I like the original sound, which is a quite intense drum loop, but playing with that pipe setting, I was able to just get a bit more intensity out of it. And I do that a lot normally where, because I know sometimes on the channel I've said where I don't care what audio I use, because then I want to process it and I just need something to mangle basically. In this case, I am consciously choosing something a bit closer to what I would use in a track if I'm using samples, maybe out of the box, and then just take it to the next level and sort of shape it into my own. And I'll do that by automating and pulling that tension. Obviously, you can go further and put a delay. You can change your distortion type, use third-party plugins to maybe get it to exactly what you want. Other things you can do is stack another one. I tried it with the bass, drum the bass in. Let's solo this. Now that we've got the amp and stuff, it could be a bit funny, but again, it is a weird one, but it can work. If we go high, it's going to be way too high. Maybe if you want to, like, you know, make it more frantic. And then because it's adding high end, you can tone back the amp or even turn it off. You can get really weird here. You can see now I'm going down a rabbit hole. Oops, it's a bit loud. Whew. So you can really, again, play with the tune. And if you get it in a good enough pocket, you can get anything from it. I mean, when you go really low, you can hear the transits sound a bit more percussive. Maybe chop that. So yeah, you could stack, depending on, it could work, obviously. I normally either use just one, depending on the sound I might use two. I always sort of do add an amp just to grit it up a little bit. That's sort of my style of production. Another thing you can do is really get frantic on the auto pan, just to, like, not big crush it, but really squash it a bit more maybe. Just another layer. Maybe now we're losing a bit too much energy. Now you might like stuff a bit more glitchy and a bit more gatey, so you could you know, freeze that. Or if you might just want to add an extra layer of texturing, you can do that. So that's an option too. But then past that point, you can do anything you want. You could automate. Like, obviously, I've drawn in some automations in the automation lane just to get that pipe going. What you could do is you could map the type of resonator. Let's try that. So the radius is gone because it's not on every preset. We're getting a bit further from the visual intention, but it is a good option just to have as well. I mean, once you use LFO, you can obviously go down that path and go to something completely different, but it can be a nice extra 10% to what you've done. Depends on your style. Good side chainer. Now look, we've gone a bit further, but if I just, let's check this out. let's get rid of the sort of broken beat. Let's just go 4/4. All right, let's do that. Let's turn that up a little bit. So if we sort of play that now, maybe a bit too intense, take the LFO off. Woof. Fuck the LFO off. Let's go back to pipe. Yeah, if we turn that automation off. So we will get some of the characteristics. It's not going to be like completely wet where it's going to take you to another zone. In this case, obviously, if we had the LFO and the auto pan, you can do that. But it's a nice way just to intensify something that was already sounding good. And especially if you're using a sample from somewhere else, even though it might be royalty free, you can make it your own and shape it to so it's your own sample now. But that works on any sound, obviously. I've just wanted to use something close so I can take it to the next level. But I set this up before. This one here was the original drum loop, a different drum loop I had up top. If I just play on its own, I didn't dial this in too much, but I'll just put on. This is again stacking the loop random and the drum to bass synth preset. Let's get rid of that. Just gonna do it fast, just because if you wanted to loop it with the key. You know, it could also be used on drum loops to process it to a point where it's gonna give it texture, but it might make it sound a bit more unique, and then you can stack it with the main kick or have it in your kick layer, because then past that point you could side chain. What did I have here? No, that's a weird one. Yeah, the turbulent pan's good, but it's a bit, it's not really my style, but it's a bit wide. We'll turn the spread down. Then if you change it, yeah, it's pretty funky. It's cool. Obviously, it's going to be way too wide. It's going to be louder than our mid single, but great for textures and layering. So if we turn the processing off, I mean, they sound clear the way because it's the starting point that I like. But and then saying that, if you do like something and you want it a bit more static, you can maybe just change the audio, re-chop it, or if it's a bit too dominant, we can maybe make our own sort of rhythm, if you will. I don't know, whatever you want to fucking call it. Let's get rid of that, and now we're just going to elevate it again. I like it because then when I hear that, straight amp or cyber drive, my last video, but woo. I would try and crunch it. It's gonna be way too loud for the distortion. But if we get the dry original loop, let's have a listen. So let's turn off the processing. So this was the original. Where is it? Let's get it. 3. Yeah, here we go. So this was the original. Let's have a listen. Which is cool. But now we've chopped it, done the processing. Too much space there, but you can go and EQ that. I'm just showing you. Good, huh? Then I did this on a vocal. It's a bit how you're going, but just another demonstration. So let's turn this on. It's that tubular pan that cooks me. Let's turn it off. So sounds like a slow alarm. I mean, you can turn that tubular pan back on. You tune it all down to get away from the harmony of the vocal. Tubular pan can go. Really break the vocal up. Because now, when I hear that sort of gating and breaking up, I would freeze it like I'm going to do now and flatten it, because now look at this. Now, I don't like that sort of loop or that pitch. So I would distort that. Distort everything. Now, obviously I've pitched down there. You can turn out the percussion, you can put that in simpler, you can do whatever you want. So that's a quick example on the vocal. Then obviously just experiment. Throw it on. It's a free chain. It's in Ableton. Corpus, bit of amp, bit of auto pan. Suss out the different presets within each instrument, or each effect, sorry, and give it a crack. Plus your own signatures and whatever you do, right? LFOs, envelope followers, loop random. So let's try and get this a bit more industrial. You can hear it sort of morphing, right? So if we just go for the kick. Pitch that down. Now you can now LFO the tune, it's getting that frantic. Do it again. It's not really working, but get real glitchy. You can hear me live, just going through different options that I like, that I'd probably use. Voila. So, quick recap. Free chain, you can make it yourself in Ableton, Corpus, auto pan, amp, LFO, envelope follower, whatever you like. Stack them, don't stack them. Whatever you think's working. Starting with and you can don't need to do it this way, but I use it in the point where I find something I like that I would use, but I just want to elevate it, make it my own. Or as I showed you the vocal, you can experiment, sound design, create your own samples from anything, and just get used to how the effects work and how they sound. Because if you've got that in your arsenal, that can be quite beneficial to you as well, just for your own sound design, your own production. And it's fun as well, because when you start mucking around like this and you take that pressure off, I need to write something today, I need to create something today. Sometimes just noodling around and having sessions of just sound designing or experimenting with what your DAW has to offer can progress you quite far, or further than you think, rather than just, shutting off Ableton and saying, oh, I didn't create a loop today, or I didn't finish a track today. That's not always the goal. Sometimes we need to sharpen the tools, our knowledge, and our experience. So either way, you're putting hours in the bank, which is crucial. Thanks for joining me. Hit like, hit subscribe, comment. Let me know if you're down. Arrivederci.